It's Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2 minutes after, since I did the whole thing and we did all the music and all that stuff and realized once again we were not live. It's 5 p.m. on the West Coast and we are here. I think we're actually live because I'm seeing people and what have you. As usual, welcome adventurers, I should say. I'm your guide, Sean McZoo, and this is the Reptile Show reporter. As usual, Bill Strand, the headmaster of the Chameleon Academy, is my co-host. Tonight we have Mikey Ben here. Thanks, Mikey, for doing
Mikey.
But let's watch the video then, huh? All right. Let's get the video down. I like to put the video on that way. James Cross is here. Let's put a picture of him up. Of course, we got Mikey Ben, but there's a picture of him there. So, let's see. Where's Mikey Ben? Oh, there he's right there. But James Cross, there he is. There's a little bit of delay on the pictures today. I don't know what's going on with that, but okay. All right. Let's see. Chat. What do we got in the chat?
We got Two Turtle Tom and Chris.
And we've got Two Turtle Tom. We got two versions of Two Turtle Tom. Actually, just one here. I don't know why. But this is Two Turtle Tom with his daughter, Paige. All right. And who else is in the chat there? Chris.
Michigan Chris.
Michigan Chris. Chris. I can't pronounce stuff today. There we go. There's Evergreen Reptile. So there we go. All right. So any announcements today, Bill?
Other than I'm working on a new type A video. So hopefully on Friday you see my Chameleon Academy vlog.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Mikey, any announcements? It's essentially the show you were planning to go to last weekend is until next weekend.
The reason I'm here, So the reason I'm here is on Sunday we have the first Reptile and Plant Expo for 2024. So it'll be exciting because
it's YouTube.
We have some good selection of animals, some rescues, and lots of crazy plants.
Okay. All right. For me, podcast number 15 is up. It's Keith Gisser from Herps Alive. I've known Keith, 8 or 10 years. He's been part of a reptile rescue for 10 years. And he started it. He officially moved into the building 10 years ago. He started the rescue many, many years before that. But it is an incredible podcast, not because I did it, but because the guest is incredible. And I learned so much about rescues and all the different things. And we tried to have him on almost a couple shows in, and his connection wasn't good, and we missed the whole thing. But we talk about reptile laws in Ohio. We talk about how he played into that situation and how there was, an end around on the laws getting done here in Ohio. Why you can't have a snake. Well, you can have a snake over 13 feet, but you can't actually without a permit. So, and we get into all that stuff. We talk about his perfect reptile show. So it's a great listen or view, and get into looking at that. We've got the pillars that are still going on every week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Wednesdays is up today, and it was the new person I met at the Medina show. With today's pillar is the other stuff, which is almost some of them. The reptile shows are being taken over by the other stuff, depending on what you consider the others. If you consider other stuff bugs and stuff, it's almost half the show. But if you consider it, and here in Ohio, we had a problem with bugs. Gons wouldn't ship to me, but for good reason, because the weather was so bad and the temperatures were so low last week that in Tennessee was all bogged up at the hub. So I couldn't get my crickets. I went to the show. And I couldn't get my crickets there either because there were none. So there was only 3/4 crickets. But I got super worms and dubias and all kinds of other stuff. So it's okay. But that was one of those things. But no, Gons for the first time told me we can't ship to you. I always tell them ship regardless. I'll take the risk because they do such a great job. But this time they said no, Sean. They'll all be dead. They're going to spend 3 days in Tennessee and on their way to you. And I'm like, okay, that's the second time they've told me this in 2 or 3 years that I've been getting them from. So I applaud them for their saying they wouldn't do anything and wouldn't ship them to me and wouldn't take my money this time because I would have had a bunch of dead crickets and it would have been my own fault. So anyway,
all right, I need to do a quiz here.
Hmm?
CNC tortoises, is that Mike Chan? Please let me know if I have done it correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
all right, Mike Chan. All right, so he's here. Hey, Misty Mountain Fats. Who's that?
That's a cutie.
Oh, I know. Don't tell your wife you're talking about some other woman on the thing.
There is no other
Oh,
woman
wait a
here.
minute. That's your wife. I do that all the time. All right, CNC tortoises. James Cross. Hi, Yvette.
We
Mike
got Steph.
Strand. Wait a minute. He said hello, everyone. So he's actually here and on the chat. If anyone's around Michigan, they come to my reptile show in the Baltimore, Michigan.
We need to put that one up.
February 17th. You know what? Chris, I could not get my vacation changed because my parents aren't going to be down there after the 22nd of February. They're going somewhere else. So I could not get my vacation changed. So once again, I'm going to have to go to the next one. Hey, Stephanie Page is here. We've got a picture of her. Let's see. Liza Ann isn't here yet. So let's see. Steph. There we go. Stephanie Payne. I say Page? Payne, yes. I know her name.
We have such a tight-knit group that we are actually missing when our core group doesn't show up. We're actually missing people.
We talk about it.
That is sweet.
So yeah, CNC tortoises. You need to send me a picture so we can put you on. Or you've been here a couple times.
Yep.
So who'd you say was
part of the family?
And now that Yvette's been on, if she's on again, we're gonna have to get a picture of her as well, Bill.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll replace your picture with her because
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I know. It just All right.
That's the way it goes.
I tell you, no respect.
All right. So, Mikey, why don't you just formally introduce yourself?
Formally? Well,
I don't mean formally, but I guess I've introduced you already, but you go ahead and just introduce yourself the way you want to.
Well, you've opened up the border to let this crazy Canuck in your house, so
I know.
Yeah, I'm just a guy that likes to hang around your show and Bill's show, and boy, I don't know. Last year and this year, podcasts have really become my major thing. TV, Netflix, all that stuff doesn't do it for me anymore.
Okay.
It's like, watching stuff, learning from what you guys are providing. That's been, as Dylan always said on his show, the dopamine effect, right? So that's where I get my charge. It's like the community that we're surrounding ourselves with. Bill's really putting together a great, strong community because we do a lot of communicating outside of the podcast, and I love it. Yeah, I'm just a hobbyist. I love reptiles. And once I start talking reptiles, I don't shut up. So,
that's okay. We're going to ask you to do that. So that's good.
Yes.
How would you actually define yourself? Just a hobbyist, or what would you? I mean, it could broadly,
I don't like to consider myself a hobbyist because hobbies to me, it's like my comic books or my pulp culture figurines. That's a hobby. But for me, my animals are my pets, even though some of them I do use for breeding. But the breeding is just, I love raising babies. I don't make a lot of money on it. And the money I do get from it just goes back to my animal care, and I use it for rescues.
All right, we got an emergency. Liza Ann is actually here for just a short, brief moment. So we're going to put her comment on there. and then we're gonna go ahead and put her on. And guess what? I fixed her
Liza,
picture.
nice to see you.
How about this?
What? Oh man!
She made it.
All right, I'll do back to the original.
Oh, Liza, it was before you came on. They were saying, "Oh, where's Eliza?" So you are missed and noticed.
All right, thanks for being here. All right, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Mikey. So you were talking about
It was an emergency.
that they were pets and
Yes.
not the hobby, but so what
Yeah,
do you
they're-
have at your house,
Oh,
if you don't
boy.
mind me asking?
Well, the master of the house is our dog. We have a
Mhm.
small little Shishan mixed Shih Tzu breed. He's the master of the house. Whatever he wants, he gets. But that's more of my wife's pet. Reptiles are number one. So if I had to start, would be my first of all, really, my heartbeat goes to my carpet chameleon, my first fur lateralis. She's my gem. She's my jewel. I come home from work. That's the first thing I do is I go down and got to see her. I wake up in the morning. First thing I got to do is got to see her. And she's laid some eggs for me. So going through the process of fingers crossed, and maybe we have some babies in the future.
Now, was this from a captive mating, or did she come in gravid?
Nope. The male and my female were both wild caught imports. Following Frank Payne and Chameleon Academy, chameleonforums.com, everything. The colors looked right, the mood looked right, and yeah, the moments were right. So,
You put on a little music and put them together, huh?
Okay.
well, I had to give them privacy. It felt a little weird, but yeah. So that's really my big my promise and purpose of 2023 was carpet chameleons. So I got that. Now for my promise and purpose for 2024 is maybe I can hatch out a few and see how it goes from there.
Are you going to be doing a
Other than
diapause
that,
on them?
I'm going to do diapause, yep.
All right.
Outside of that, the other breeding projects I have are the giant day geckos. I only breed small amounts because, again, it's only a select few people that want to keep those type of day geckos. I've got,
Wait a minute. We're talking about Grandis?
Yes.
Why, what do you mean only a few people would want to? That is just an incredible species.
I've hatched out some, and it's taken me like 5 months to sell.
Wow.
And again, I'm not selling like retail prices. I'm selling at, pretty good prices. Again, the money I'm getting, it's just going back to support some of the rescues that I'm involved with. So
Grandis is so cool.
yeah.
Okay.
You
Anyway.
know what? I love Madagascar species. I've got the Laticados, the gold dust. I've got New Year's babies. On New Year's Day, I had some babies hatch out.
Okay.
So do you keep them
Mexican
together or
Spanish
separate them?
I have a pair of the Grandis. They are actually a bonded pair. If I separate them, they act really weird, like almost like anxiety. It's just quite strange. So I keep them together year round, and let them be.
So I
happy.
have a pair of Ann Panettes as well. So I think they're giant great day geckos. Ann Panette, who's one of the people at the reptile show, she went off to she's off on getting a vet license. So learning about being a reptile vet or exotic animal vet. And she gave me 8 of her geckos. The other 6 are all New Caledonians. They're the Chihuahuas and the 2 of the what do you call them? Crested geckos, which hate me. The one crested gecko, every time I feed him, he ends up on my hand, biting the web of my fingers, and just holds on until I beg him to let go. And I say all kind, and I think it's weird because we have a crested gecko we've had for years. Groot. He's by himself. He doesn't do anything. He's as laid back as the day is long. He used to jump out and run away. Now he's just like, hey, yeah, you're in my cage. Give me food. Thank you. All right. I won't even look up. Are you really there? But But yeah,
This is where I
so
jump out of the frying pan into the fire because I'm a fan of Madagascar species. I'm not really thrilled about New Caledonia species. Like
because
when you look at the Fantasticas, what's there to say, right? They are amazing geckos.
Starting to get a little smack talking
Philsuma
going here.
geckos.
so you're not a fan of them because you don't like them, or you have something else to burn your
Uh, I just think like the Philsumas are just more prettier to look at. They're more
Okay.
active. You
They
can have some
each
fun
their
with them.
own.
They've got their own attitudes, so they're not like spicy as a lychee can be. You know, sometimes.
Yeah, I don't have any
I have a
leeches. I
female.
have my own Chihuahua pair, which I separate. I separate, keep my pets all separate. My Chihuahua pair, I have a just one crested. It's actually my daughter's, who has one of the tortoises here and everything. She's in college. She's a senior now, and what else do I have? I have one of the chameleon geckos, which I also have a pair of ants, and that's all I have right now. But I don't know. They're kind of cool, and I really like the fact that I can just feed them crested gecko diet and an occasional insect, and they get along well. Different flavors and what have you. But
yeah, I think we got to clarify. Yvette, he was talking about he loves the Madagascar species.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he mentioned Fantasticus is one that he loves. She was getting a little concerned in the comments section there.
I like them as well. I've been like saying all kinds of things on Instagram, blowing up her account with every time she posts something. So I'm gonna have to get me some of those. I just haven't done it yet. So
they are incredible.
I would love to have Fantasticas, but right now I'm just looking at making space and getting myself some more carpet chameleons because I can't have enough of them. They're just like.
I've got to throw some more kids out of the house, I guess. I'm starting to. 3 of them have left already and 2 to go. But I don't think Abs will ever go. But no, still, she's the one in the wheelchair. But yes, yeah, I got room. I just gotta get time to take care of these things. Wait a minute. Only doctors and lawyers can have Fantasticus. Wait a minute.
Lucky you, Sean.
Which is your wife, Bill? Is she a doctor or a lawyer or an Indian chief? Which one is she?
She's a pusher.
A pusher. She's the dealer. Okay, I get it now. Yeah, I saw a meme the other day that said it's been a year since I was addicted and I met my pusher at the Giant Eagle or whatever, and then you see this little Girl Scout selling them cookies. So it's kind of one of those things. So, anyways, all right. Let's see.
I also have some other species too. Again, they're all mostly pets. I don't really look into breeding them. It's just the Philsuma grandis and the Laticatas, the goldas. I was breeding last year the Pictus geckos or the Madagascar ground geckos. To me, I like them better than leopard geckos, and I did breed leopard geckos years ago. Not a lot of people are familiar with them, but like a leopard gecko, people are starting to work with different morphs. Smaller gecko than a leopard, so most enclosures that you see at the big box stores is great for a Pictus gecko versus the leopard gecko being in a tiny enclosure. Wow. I love small species.
Yeah.
Only my Mexican spiny tail, the Pectinata. She's my biggest reptile.
No snakes?
I do have a snake. It's an albino Nelson's milk snake I've had for over 10
Oh,
years
that
now.
is awesome. I want to get me one of those, except for you're in Canada. But but no, I have a milk snake that I got, but it's not an albino. I got from the guy up in Taylor, Michigan, but and it's a cool snake, but the Nelson, it's not a Nelson, it's a milk snake, a different type, but it's very similar to the Nelsons, but no, the Nelsons, I saw them down in Cincinnati, and I decided not to get in because I didn't have a cage for it, and I regret it. But you don't want to put something in when you don't have a cage for it. You don't want to take it home 4 hours and put it nowhere. Actually, so
that's the terrarium.
All right.
Milk snake right back there.
Yeah. Wow, You're living
Colubrids,
dangerously. Do they try to? Mine tries to escape.
it did escape once. My wife does not like snakes, so I'm
Mhm.
restricted to one snake in a household at a time. That's how it's been for the last 27 years. It has escaped, and usually every time a snake does escape, it's my wife that has to be the one that finds it. So, it's like a
Wow.
fire alarm going off in a house. It's pretty funny.
I am in luck because my wife has liked all kinds of snakes forever. She doesn't like feeding them. I mean, she would feed a snake today to goldfish or crickets or something like that, but she doesn't want to feed them. But as long as she doesn't see or actually lately she doesn't even mind seeing me feeding them, but she doesn't want to do it herself. So, but once again, the rule here is if I can take care of it, I can have it. But it's you get to a point where you get so many reptiles in the house, you're like, I don't know if I can adequately do this by myself.
Yes.
And so I'll have to either hire somebody to be my zookeeper, like um what um what was his name, Mike Tyson, who had those um uh lions or whatever he had, tigers, I
Tigers,
think they
yeah,
were. Actually, Keith
yeah,
mentioned that in the podcast that I just
yeah.
released Tuesday. But he had um, um, zoo quality enclosures and a reptile and a animal keeper. So I guess that would be good. I'd have to get a third job or whatever because I consider this my second job, even though I'm not getting paid for it. But anyways, all right. So what else do you do, Mikey?
Well, I still have a daytime job, so
Hmm?
that takes up the most part of my day. But yeah, other than that, it's just really my life is now like podcasts, uh, just learning as much as I can learn about better reptile keeping.
Mhm.
A lot of times when they go to the big box stores just to get some random feeders, I always get in a conversation with people looking for a new reptile pet,
Mhm.
and I just can't help myself to kind of like nudge myself into that conversation and help
Mhm.
guide them where they can get good information versus that out of date care sheet. It triggers me. I'm a pretty patient guy, but boy, I get triggered with those care sheets.
Yeah, I was
And
at Pet Supplies Plus this afternoon and picking up some extra crickets because my crickets are going to be here tomorrow, and I wanted to get some other crickets and get them all fed up so I could feed them off tomorrow before the other stuff came. And I asked the guy's like, you want a veiled chameleon? I'm like, he's like, what do you have at home? I go, chameleons. He goes, you want a veiled? I'm like, you're probably talking to the wrong guy. And I'm like, where'd you get it? And he's like, oh, we have one supplier out of Florida. I'm like, for the whole company? Yeah. It's like, I'm okay. I was like, I need to supply you guys, not you supply me. But anyways, that was kind of a strange conversation with him. So, but
yeah,
Well,
oddly enough, years ago, I got a veiled chameleon from up here it's PetSmart, not Petco, but uh, they gifted me the veiled chameleon because, again, the way they kept in the stores, they're not going to last. And I went home that night. I didn't sleep, to be honest. Very next day, I started YouTubing as much as possible about veiled chameleons, and that's when the first time I came across Bill Strand. Then the day after that, I spent the day building an entire 4x2x2 enclosure for this
okay.
veiled. Went to the store, says I'm taking them home. Had the misting system, pothos plants, everything. Really jumped in, feet first, not testing the water. But I had good success. He was actually really, really taken to me. Like, if I opened up the cage, he came out, didn't mind going outside in the backyard, sitting on my lap. He was fantastic. Only lasted a couple of years. I blame myself maybe because there's something I missed or I didn't know. But that started my journey for chameleons. And then after him, I got into water dragons and other animals. But once I got an eye on the ULCI, the jeweled chameleons that Bill was showing off as jeweled chameleons, they're like, small chameleons? Oh man, where can I get them? And it led me down back to the carpet chameleons. And I'm not looking back. I think carpet chameleons are something I gotta have with me all the time. Just as like I get one colubrid in my house at one time, I will have a chameleon in my house at one time, always.
I agree.
I should
And
be able
when
to
you
stick
talk
to
about
that kind of thing.
feeders,
Hmm?
so the whole tie-in with your show and about feeders, I planned myself like for a monthly supply because now our expos up here in Canada, they're coming around to be like a monthly thing. Every 2 to 3 months, they don't call it the Reptile and Pet Expo. It becomes the Pet Expo. So they incorporate dogs, cats, birds, aquatics, everything. And it's a pretty good show, like in terms of like all those other animals. For the reptile section, it really dials down just to a handful. Maybe like we get one rescue that I volunteer with, and just a couple other vendors for reptiles, because the dog and cat market really takes over that event themselves. But the reason I love volunteering at that particular expo is breaking down all the myths of the dog and cat people about reptiles. Little Rescue is a turtle sanctuary that I volunteer for at the expos. So we'll bring in some like unusually sized red ear sliders, like boy, I think it was about 8 pounds, 13-inch shell. So it's a very large, red ear slider. So like just seeing people's expressions, thinking about the little pet shop, little 4-inch turtle, and then seeing this monster of a turtle, like wow. So the questions, my favorite question I get from people is about salmonella. So just like, oh yeah, I'll hang around with the turtle and take my chances versus raw chicken any day.
Yeah, you put the raw chicken in your mouth after you cook it, but you don't actually have to cook the turtle. So, it's one of those things that people will always worry about, but the vast majority, like 99% of salmonella poisoning comes from chicken. And then there's another source and other sources. So it's kind of strange, but it's their normal gut flora. So people talk about it, but it's one of those, it's not really an old wives' tale. You can get it, but it's one of those. What do they call those things? I can't think of the word they use for it. Like just a myth that people keep talking about, that baby turtles are why people get salmonella, not chicken that they put all over
Old
their
wives' tale?
What?
Old wives' tale? Is that what you're looking for?
I know I'm talking. Like something that's, I guess maybe
Urban legend?
urban legend. That's what I'm talking about.
I knew we'd get it.
Got it. All right. That's why I have you on here, Bill, because that not only can you read my mind, which is really kind of scary and not much there. I know that when you're in there, it's a little lonely there. But
You got yourself in deep, Sean.
okay.
Two Turtle Tom is now challenging you.
If I am the head of the USDA, is it actually the USDA that has the 4-inch turtle ban? I don't even know. Steph came up with urban myth as well. Do I lift the 4-inch turtle ban? 4 inches is awful big. You could put,
It says FDA.
yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. It's FDA, right? Okay. So do I lift it? I can't, because it's so much history that if someone gets one, they'll sue the FDA. So I can't, because it's been in motion for so long that people are all about it. But yeah, but I mean, what's the difference? Does someone, people are licking toads and all this other weird stuff. I mean, how do they find out that these,
But you're right. The difference is they have someone who's responsible now.
right.
They have a name to sue.
Yes, exactly. All right.
All right. Well, Bill has a question for Mikey.
Okay.
Mikey, you say you really are enjoying podcasts. Well, I'm wondering, first of all, the difference between a audio only podcast and a video podcast. What do you enjoy both?
I love both, because if we're talking like Spotify, having audio only is great if I gotta drive somewhere. Then I won't be distracted by the video. But the minute I'm stopped at an office at an appointment or something, I switch right to video if the video is available. Again, seeing the visual, I like seeing the people like that are being interviewed. It's just that extra element. With the regular podcast that you get on YouTube, you get the video, you get to see the images and some of the stuff that the guests are showing. Where with audio, you kind of have to use your imagination a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I love both. I mean, I'll take both, to be honest.
Do you find that it is distracting when you're listening to a podcast that has video and they talk about things that you can't see? Does it break the feeling of having a conversation?
Um, it can be distracting if it's something that's really appealing. Like say you see a very rare snake, like a puffing snake or something. That could be distracting because you don't get to see those every day.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it's just a matter of a few seconds because if I'm listening to a podcast, when I listen to music, I kind of dissect it in my head because playing drums for a lot of years, you kind of dissect music. You just don't just listen to it on a broad scale.
Okay.
And so podcast for me, it's like that. If I'm dissecting the video from the audio, if the video's there, I have to focus a little bit more because sometimes you're seeing images that does take your attention and distracts you from the conversation at hand.
Okay.
But you can always
And
go back and listen and watch.
for the audience, what are your favorite podcasts? What would you recommend people check out?
Okay, so for me, podcasts, again, this is not a hobby for me anymore. It's actually become a lifestyle because my Tuesday nights is surrounded with the Chameleon Academy.
Hey,
My
all
Wednesday
right.
nights is the Reptile Show Reporter. Thursday nights, of course, it's live with Two Turtle Tom. Saturdays, I try to make it home and get my chores done to get Chameleons and Coffee back on. Of course, you got Dylan with Animals at Home,
Yep.
Reptiles and Research, part of Hair Network, Project Herpeticulture, part of Dylan's network. Those are my main sources because really for the time I have during the day, that's where I'm crushing it all in. Again, I don't watch a lot of television. I used to be crazy for hockey and sports, and that's kind of been like faded down now. So it's just more like the reptile community is really just something that's got my attention. It's got my heart because a lot of people that have been coming into all the chats, I've considered them friends, and I don't consider a lot of people friends that easily, but when you start hanging around with people that support each other and,
Yeah,
just,
this is it's been a very cool evolution for the community. But I know people have been doing lives for a while, but it's recently that things have really gained momentum, and now we've got these live podcasts coming, new ones all the time, and I think it's becoming and that's everything's going to build on each other, and so the more live podcasts that are there, the more people that are going to be exposed, the more people that'll come. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I spent a lot of years in the film and music industry, so I used to wear a lot of T-shirts that were like movies and stuff, things I used to get free perks from work. That is now starting to dwindle down, so I gotta find other T-shirts, and it's now becoming like all reptile community T-shirts, and
Excellent.
I love it. It's just like. Actually, I kind of really enjoy it. Like if I wear a T-shirt, like the first time my son saw the Chameleon Academy T-shirt, he's like, "Hey, that's a pretty cool looking T-shirt." I was just like, "Yeah,
Good.
my chest puffed up a little bit." I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm gonna flex a little bit. And the thing why I buying these T-shirts, like again for the people that spend all the time, and it is a lot of work for content creators to put the stuff together and build a foundation and build a community that I try to support the best I can, and whether it's Patreon or buying merchandise.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Stickers.
And coming to the chat and just being active in the chats, it makes
Yeah.
a huge difference. It creates the community.
Yep. That's what got me out of my shell. And last year, part of my promise and purpose, again, the reason I say promise and purpose, because it was the reptile entrepreneur that kind of put that in my head and kind of woke me up a little bit. And said, okay, you know what, I got to be better in this community. And that's when I stepped up. I decided to start volunteering. And having the opportunity to volunteer at an expo kind of gave me a different view than just walking around and talking to breeders. You know, trying to sell people on the idea that a rescue does need support. It's not the fact that the red deer sliders is such a bad situation. Like, I know it is in the US as it is here in Canada. Like, the rescue that I volunteer at, you have a year waiting list to surrender a red deer slider just because they have like a whole bunch at their facility. And so
Yeah,
it's
Herbs
just
Alive is the same.
yeah. And with the episode that Sean had yesterday, you know, again with the rescues, you know, your work is trying to promote yourself at an expo versus trying just to adopt an animal to somebody that wanted a ball python or a crested gecko. You know, it's just engaging them long enough. And that's what I kind of try to do. I just try to talk to them about just like the basics of reptile husbandry, and then get at them long enough that maybe they have an interest to see what the rescue is about, and maybe they can show support. Other than just buying like rummage sale stuff, like, you know, light bulbs or aquariums at like the best prices you're ever going to get anywhere. Yeah, it's just really trying to find them to get interested and want to support the community as well. I think the more people, you know, stop liking and, you know, liking people's posts and actually put in the time to like comment, join the chat. You know, I think that makes it better for the content creator because you have that engagement, that involvement.
Yeah, it becomes meaningful to do it. I mean, if a content creator is creating something and nobody enjoys it, they just stop doing it.
Yeah, I mean, how many videos do you want to see of a person on YouTube feeding their reptile? I mean, to me, it's boring. I'm done with that. I'd rather sit there and watch somebody who puts 10 minutes together to show you what they do for their pets, whether it's reptiles or even dogs and cats. Like, I like animal behavior. I'm really fascinated with animal behavior. And I think the more we sit down and just watch what our animals do, outside of just like feeding them or nesting them, there's a lot to learn. And I have the green belly shield lizards, Lacerdas, and you hear people saying, "Oh, they're like mini monitors," and they are. They're just like super intelligent. Like, you can put stuff in there and just draws their imagination. That, hey, you'll see people put like food in the balls, their dog toys, and give it to their monitors. You can do that with Lacerdas too. I've seen Lacerdas. I vacation a lot in the Caribbean, and I get to see a lot of Lacerdas. They're communal, and they figure things out, and they even share food. Where you think, like, you know, if a reptile sees food, it's like all or nothing, and he's not going to get nothing. But I see Lacerdas eating the same fruit. So, yeah, like watching animals outside of just feeding, it's a blast. I talk too much. Again, if I talk reptiles, I don't stop.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
how much do you plan on doing with the carpet chameleons?
I'm using the base of fecal testing. I'm learning that through you and your content and the book I got for Christmas.
Yay!
So, 2024 is learning to do fecal samples and understanding the parasites. I've taken them to actually Alec Brown. Bill, you know him very well.
Yep.
He's my vet.
Oh, cool.
When he went to Madagascar with you, and I say, okay, I've got a vet that's really passionate, because I've had other vets I've gone to and not have success with them, with other reptiles. So, you know, Alec Brown's just like, yeah, I'm getting carpet chameleons, so I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. It took me a year. I had to settle for wild caught, so my plan is this year is, if I'm lucky, the eggs I have going on right now, she laid 6, but 1 didn't take, so there's 5. Looks like they're doing pretty well. If I get them to hatch, I'm definitely going to hold back a couple. Again, continue the learning process. It's just learning about them, because I know everybody says females only live about 2 years. I don't believe that. I think with reduced breeding stress and proper husbandry, I think, in a few years, maybe we can see them going 3, maybe 4. I mean, if you guys can do it with panthers and all veils and all these other chameleons, I think we can do it. So my goal is to bring the longevity of carpet chameleons outside of the usual stress they're brought, because I think people that get them are so focused on breeding them because of the demand for them. So my female, if she gives me one more clutch, I'll do my best to hold her back from having the smallest clutches and not breed her, and see how long I can keep her going.
How hard will it be for you to find another male when your eggs hatch and you're looking to breed them?
I have no rush. I'm taking my absolute time to find. If I can find captive bred, that'd be great. Adam Wickens, he bought the last female from the importer at the last expo, and she was Bradford. So I've been kind of like messaging him, hey, how's it going? Because
excellent.
If I can meet some other Canadians up here that are working with carpets and having success, I know there's people that have carpets, but it's like, where are they? They're not that active that I can find up here on social media or anything. So if I can find somebody that's working with carpets, I'd do anything to team up and make it more successful to have them here, because ideally with chameleons up here in Canada, our climate, it's, a lot of people, they get the Reptile breeds, they get their veals, and they get panthers. I've had people offer me their panther chameleons because they weren't able to care for them properly. After beating my head against the wall a lot of times, common sense kicks in and says I can't do it. If it's a smaller chameleons, like even the pygmies, like the Brooksii, it's like, oh wow, it's more easier for people that I know of that don't have a lot of space to work with. And if they want a chameleon, when you get these smaller chameleons, you got everything you want in a chameleon. And, when you get a tiny chameleon to grab your finger, it's just like, it's the best. Like, you're an extension of that chameleon. It's the best feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I forgot to update the positive news from last week. The micro squirrels are a week old, and they're doing well. So,
okay, what do you do with micro squirrels, Sean?
What do I do?
Breed them? Yeah, what do you do with the babies?
What do you do with them? You sell them to other people.
Okay.
You hug them. My wife is showing different things in the background. You hug them, you squeeze them, they make a purring noise when you hold them. They're really cool. They're like, I don't know. They're just the neatest things.
Okay. So what kind of relationship can they build with you, a human?
I would say they know her. I don't take care of them, but like a gecko? Is that no more than a gecko? A gecko is not.
Oh, you're hugging them and they're purring.
Right. Yes. That's the geckos hold me, but that's because they're biting me.
They climb up me and they hide in my hair.
Oh yeah, they climb up you and they hide in your hair and do all kinds of stuff.
Do they bond with you like a sugar glider would?
Not as much.
Not as much.
It depends on how soon you start with them.
Right.
It's more like a hedgehog.
So do you want to come on camera and talk about them now or no? Okay. All right. So we're just going to hear from her.
Well, then have her put one on her hand and stick her hand in front of the camera.
Just get the male because you can't. The female's kind of nursing and what have you, so you don't disrupt that bond for 2 weeks. They haven't even opened their eyes yet because they don't do that till 2 weeks. So it's kind of like other creatures that that you talk about. But oh, he's with her. Okay.
I'm noticing a lot of things in the chat, and
Mhm.
I gotta say thanks to everybody that's chatting and being supportive. Like, there's a lot of kind words you guys are saying, so that's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's why I love this
Yeah.
community.
There's also a debate about little turtles, and we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, until Sean is in charge of the FDA, then we'll
Yeah.
get into it.
FDA, USDA, whatever. I'm not going to do that because I don't want that headache. I don't want to be in charge of anything anymore. I've been in charge of well, I guess I'm still in charge of a couple things, but I was in charge of 20 urgent cares and during the pandemic here, and that was
Oh,
a
that's a
nightmare.
tough
So,
job.
and I was also because I was a past president of the Urgent Care Association, I was actually the head of the task force that dealt with the FDA and all the other organizations throughout the pandemic. So that I don't want to be in that position ever again. That was a nightmare. So all right. And Tom says he worked for the government for 20 years and he doesn't miss it either. So okay, so yes, that I'm past that time. I've not got it. That ship has sailed.
Mind if I ask Chris from Zev Green, how many tables is he planning to have at his expo?
Not at all.
Because
Not at
it's
all, Chris.
it's a young expo,
You
so
still here?
it'd be interesting to see how his setup
How
is
many
going.
tables or what have you?
Mhm.
Is he still here? I don't know. I can only see who's in the chat. So let's see. There's no answer to that. Okay. We'll have to ask him. I got him on you whatever. I guess I think it's. How do I actually? I think I talked to him via all these different YouTube, Facebook, and everything. I talk to people on all these different things, and I got to start and get a central thing, which is what my email's about. But no one emails me. So hey, Gecko's nurse. No, no, we were talking about micro squirrels. African dormice, which they're also called. They nurse, yes. And she was just saying that they're kind of like they hold you, but they're a little bit like her geckos. But her geckos are well trained and been socialized very good, well. So those are same geckos as I've had. She's got a chameleon gecko, but
Two
just
Turtle
holds on.
Tom's asking about Fiji banded iguanas
Mhm.
and how available they are. There are a few people that are working with them, so they are available. And to be honest, they're probably more available than the pictonatas. Like, it was hard for me to find a pictonata. When I found it, it just grabbed me right away.
I love the
But
pectinata, and I'd like to
I
get
do
one,
too.
but I was at Tinley, and there was two kinds. There was the pied pectinata and the banana pectinata, and I decided to get an Australian frill dragon.
Well, that's a win too.
Good choice.
That's a good choice, but it was just kind of one of those.
Yeah.
But I'm going to
For
go
the
back
Fijis-
again in March, so I'm sure I'll come back with the pectinata of some
Yeah,
sort.
there's right here locally where I am, like near Toronto. We do have someone that has a couple Fijis, but the retail value on the Fiji is like $1,500 Canadian. Given the U.S. exchange rate, you're probably looking at about 1,000 U.S. I don't know if in your market if that's pretty high up there.
They're illegal in the United States, so
Yeah.
you can't have them.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
But
you
in
have to
terms
live
of
in
like the
Canada.
value of an animal,
Right.
like but
But
$1,500.
that's strange. I don't know why that is. They're legal in the U.S. and okay in Canada. And Adam from Wiccan's Reptiles went and got one at an expo and was all about it. So I don't know. It's one of those things that one of the few things that I'm jealous about you Canadians about. Your weather is not very great and what have you, but
Yeah, you don't want to know how it was today. Boy, talk about dark and gray. Like, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, you think it was like 6 p.m. at night. But, oh well. In a few more months, we'll get sunshine again and we'll be happy.
Yeah, well, whenever it gets
for-
bad up there in Canada, I get trolled by the Canadians. Adam
Yeah,
Wickens or
well,
Diane will send me a story or something.
Well, when you look at Canada, U.S., there's always that trolling, whether it's in sports or anything that anybody does. Like, you want to compare Timmy's coffee to Dunkin' Donuts. You get that every time for anything.
So how do you guys feel about the new Stanley Cup craze? It's not like the hockey thing. It's an actual cup like these with the handles, not the Stanley. I don't have one, but people are crazed over this. What's called the Stanley brand. So is there any confusion? Is that going on in Canada as well?
No,
Okay.
you can't
Just
mix up Lord Stanley
Americans,
Cup.
right? Okay.
Because
All
up here we don't just say Stanley Cup, we call it Lord Stanley Cup. Because
All right.
if
So
you
that's
do
why.
if you do get a chance, like when the teams bring the cup around to their towns and shares it in their towns and cities where they come, like people, you got to have a picture with it. It'd be great to be like the classic hockey players where you could sip champagne or beer, or like some of the newer guys now having M&Ms out of it. That's pretty neat. I did have a picture with the Stanley Cup. Again, it was like somebody was hosting like a presentation, a meet and greet. But yeah, it would have been great to have a snack out of it.
Yvette's getting into this. There's only one cup, Lord Stanley.
Lord Stanley.
So wow.
Oh, you don't
You
know.
know-
She was a hockey fan. Oh my goodness.
Oh
Oh,
no, we
no,
got
Turtle
Turtle
Tom,
Tom
Blue
going, go
Jackets.
Blue Jackets, which is the Columbus, which is the
Yeah,
closest
I got a problem
professional
with that.
hockey by us. I
Yeah,
like
I got a
I like
problem
the
with
small
that.
team that's here.
Mikey's got a
Cleveland,
problem.
but,
You get
Yeah.
it now, Sean.
Well, you know what? Blue Jackets, as when we look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's my team that I've been stuck with, despite their miserable past. Every time Toronto plays Columbus, it's never good for Toronto. Columbus can have the worst day, and for some reason they still beat the Maple Leafs, and it's punishment I'm used to taking. But
All right, we're approaching 50 minutes now, so I'm going to call this a quits.
all right.
Final words from you, Mikey.
Final words. Thanks for having me. I've never done anything like this before.
Now you can't say that.
The community, they ask, so you got to deliver. So,
That's right. When
And
the
you
mob
delivered.
we have
fans.
with the content, so that's
we have some
awesome.
very influential people. So, I do it because I love the community. So, and that's for me. That's my evolution in this pet industry, in this community is, coming out of the bushes, being more involved, saying things, sharing experiences. And the reason I go to the expos is it's the only way I can talk consistently about reptiles and their care with people that want to listen about it. Where my family, they have no interest in reptiles.
That's a bummer. But because I'm well supported except for my son, who's the eldest, but he's with me in sports, so that I can't say anything about it. Bill, final words?
No final words other than I love the fog. That's the only final words.
All right. Okay, I'm just going to say thanks, everyone. Thank you, Mikey, for being here. Thank you, for Bill, as always. Thanks for the rest of the community. I love seeing all you people here. And come back
You guys
next week.
are awesome. So
Bye.
Bye.
bye.